from my Zoom to YouTube as we proceed. So we're setting up my YouTube live, making sure that it is working properly, and it is. Wonderful. Okay. So today I'll go over of our what's due. We'll have a new assignment this Wednesday, but I want to continue here. And let me just share my screen a bit. And if I share my screen, you should be able. Isa, do you see my screen? Do you see yourself?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So you see yourself. We see our contact. And let me just turn off my edit mode so you have the same thing as my edit mode. And at this point, if you'll let me know, Isa, when Daniel comes in, if you'd be so kind and let me know.
Sounds good.
Okay, so sounds good on that. I will look at my what's due section, and in my what's due section, you see that this Wednesday on October 29th, you have your final project, part 2, where you're going to upgrade, you're going to use Wix and Collaborate. As I said before, I think that you should wait to you for your domain name, but you should upgrade one person, go ahead and register for the business plan that we talked about last time. And what's important as well is I want you to make sure that you read again the Amazon.com, what is cloud computing.
General's here.
Okay, good. And the Azure Microsoft overview of the cloud computing. These two should be part of your readings when you and your assignments, which were due on last week on your cloud computing. So please go into the Amazon, what is cloud computing? And let me just put that in a new tab. Let's see what happens. If it works, we always want to check because, right, of what is happening. And you can see the Amazon and what is cloud computing. And if I also go to Microsoft and opening in a new tab, let's see what happens there, if that works. And what is cloud computing? And it's defined. Okay, perfect. And the other part that I want to make sure that you see here is you see here on group 0 already there for group 0, there are examples of what they have done in the past of their URL. As I stated earlier, you don't need to assign your domain name just yet. Use the Wix as part of your URL, but post it here and publish it here. So for Wednesday, I should see for each group at the end of your group, the last line of your group 1 should be your URL of your part 2 of your project. So that way everybody can look at each other's work. And of course, myself and the TAs can look at that as well on both of theirs. Okay, so that is going to be important to look at. So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. Any questions on that? So if I asked you the question, what is cloud computing? And why is that important? And, who cares? So who can just take that stab? That general thing is how you view what is cloud computing and why is, who cares? Raise your hand if you can let me know what you think cloud computing is.
I can explain cloud computing.
Great, Sophia. I appreciate your participation, Sophia. With
So
class participation counts. Yes.
Cloud computing is basically when you have one cloud where a bunch of servers can work simultaneously from different places. So it doesn't have to be like they're in the same place or in the same computer. And they can like add on. So kind of like how you can edit simultaneously like a Google Slides while other people are also editing and you can see their editing. It's important because it can help people work without being in the same place, and it can make working in the computer easier for especially companies, universities. So it's a good way for people to be able to work together without being together.
Okay. Anyone else want to take a stab at it? First of all, Sophia, I give you credit for taking the stab at it and trying to articulate. Anything else? Anyone else wants to state for class participation? Or what you think, you had that assignment of what is cloud computing, right? And supposedly you read it and did the quizzes on it. And we've talked about it all along. One more step. Jorge, what do you think cloud computing is?
Hey, Professor, did you mention my name? I'm sorry.
Yes, I did. What do you think cloud computing is?
I think cloud computing is, I'm not sure.
I think cloud computing, I'm not sure. Did you do the assignment for last time? So what did I always say? It's when I ask a question, Ava, what did I always say? When I ask a question, can you check it out while I'm asking the question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I just looked it up. So cloud computing, it's an on-demand delivery of IT resources, like servers, storage, and software over the internet.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Let's even start going backwards. When I am in Zoom and it says I am going to record to my computer, right? If you all look down below and if you wanted to record, right, it gave you an option to record to this computer or to the cloud. What is recording to this computer mean? Marco, what is recording in Zoom? And I know you know it, right? Recording to this computer means what? If you were going to do that yourself, you were going to give a webinar to a number of different people. They logged in and you said, you know what? I'm going to record to this computer. What would that mean, Marco?
It's when you record locally and then you save it for yourself, and
Locally,
it's much easier to distribute.
So
Right.
it's locally. So in the way in which we do computing, everybody can think about it. Think that we have something locally that we save to our own computer. Everybody with me? And there can be, when we talk about on-premise, Marco, what does that mean? It means on premises of our organization. So locally, Marco, this is your computer that you have in front of you, right? You can store files there and get access to those files in your computer. Am I correct, Marco?
Yes.
Yes. So the idea then is then my question to you, if you turned on your computer and you did not have internet access, and it could happen, right, Marco, that we could have a storm coming in, we didn't have internet access, you can then gain access to your files locally on your computer. You don't need the internet. Everybody with me? So you remember last week what happened? All of a sudden, have you all heard Amazon Web Services was down, right? And a few things, for instance, Canvas and a number of others, we were able to do Zoom, but a number of companies could not access their files. Some people could not access Zoom. Some people could not access other software that they had. That was the problem. So if you thought about, Marco, one of the questions on an exam, tell me the advantages and disadvantages, right? The disadvantage would be what? The disadvantage would be that you couldn't gain access when you 24/7. It's not often, right, that Amazon Web Services is down, but it happens. Everybody with me? So the idea that we can have it locally. Now, you remember we went to the lab. Cam, were you on the exam? Did you come to the exam? I think you did, right? You want to unmute yourself so we can hear?
Yeah, I did.
So in this case, when we came to the exam, we were in a lab of computers, and those computers could be networked together on what we call a local area network. That we could have, let's say we had a couple of printers in that lab, and we wanted to print out some data, and I said, you know what, go ahead and print out your, in this case, your open-ended exam. You could print it out on those printers if they were connected as a local area network. So if we had 50 computers, Cameron, in that lab, they could be locally connected. You got it? Is that cloud services? No. Would we have to go to the internet to connect those together? No. But as you always use the computer and you use the phone, you grew up with the idea of the cloud services. And what that meant is, in order to get to the cloud, you needed what, Jorge? You needed a browser, you needed the internet to connect. So you pick out to me, everybody can now think to themselves, what do you use on a regular basis that are cloud services? What applications do you usually use as cloud services? So we'll go around the room. So Carissa, name one cloud service that you use every day or you use often.
Would Google Docs count?
Google Docs, right? So Google Docs, what else? So Bobby, what else do you use every day that is really a cloud service?
Would Blackboard count or no?
Blackboard, of course. You have to get onto the internet, Blackboard. I bet you, Kylie, if I ask, almost everything you use on your phone or your laptop is basically a cloud service. You don't even think about it as a cloud service. You just think, hey, that's my app. So give me one more.
Like social media.
Yeah, all your social media is what? Cloud, right? And there's nothing. So you can think about your Google Drive, your OneDrive, even that Office 365. Sometimes you could install that Office on your computer. Sometimes you can store your files on your computer, but many times you can just use it. So anything that you're using most of the time is what we call cloud services. But if you think about the way that computing was done, was we started with basically mainframes that we basically shared the data. And when the internet came about, it basically says, now we can share it. And what does it mean that we have cloud services? It means there are other computers that act as a server. And what does it mean, a server? It means another computers or a group of computers that will host software that will then basically allow users to gain access to it. Do you understand that, Sophia? So going back to reading, Jorge, read me again that definition that you found, right? And how did you find that definition? You what? You Googled it? What
Yeah, I
you
Googled it.
Google it? Anytime I say Google it, it's what? It's a cloud service. That software resides. How do you Google it? Do you have internet access? Yes. This Zoom, can you see me on Zoom without internet access? No. That's a cloud service too. And the idea here, it said what? Read me the first few statements there.
Cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT
Okay, so
resources.
first, stop. On-demand delivery. So what happened is when Amazon first came about, it was selling, for instance, it started with selling books, and it started servicing all their customers, and they always thought to themselves, how can I basically gain more access and more revenues? As they said, you know what we've done on our back end of servicing our customers, we can do it for others. So basically, Amazon, one of their most profitable subsidiaries, is called Amazon Web Services. Sometimes by definition is called AWS. So it's basically, you can think about the acronyms, Amazon Web Services. And what do they give you? They give you a number of services for the individual, or they give it to basically an enterprise like a university or a business, and they give that idea of on demand when we need it together. So if Marco and I were deciding we're going to start an AI company together, Marco, one of the things that we can do is we can buy a lot of hardware to upgrade and basically do our agents, right, Marco? But in a way, sometimes we can go to those cloud services and we can do on demand. It means like renting out services. We can rent out software. We can rent out operating systems. We can rent out the entire management of our computing services. What's the advantage of that, Marco? Is then we don't have to have a lot of capital infrastructure to pay out. And guess what? In the beginning, Marco, will we have a lot of customers? No. So in this case, we can expand, or we can be elastic or flexible as we grow. And it may be what? Seasonality. Certain seasons we're more busy than the other. We can ask for more resources. Everybody with me? So you see that, Sophia? So it's on demand, meaning when I requested, when Marco requested, when anyone requests it. What's the next part that we read, Jorge? So it's on demand. What's the next part that it says?
The next part is on-demand delivery of IT resources like server, storage, and software over the
Okay,
internet.
servers, basically, if we want to have computers that will serve to our other clients. What's the other one? Storage. You remember one of the things that we did, right? We talked about primary storage and secondary storage. And what was the difference? Primary was my RAM, right? Secondary storage. And I said, some of you had more than others. And in this case, when Marco and I going to business, we said, oh, well, we'll have a couple of maybe laptops together. But when we need for our AI agenic development, we're going to need what? A lot of RAM, and we're going to need to have more storage. So what we can do? We can rent it out. We'll use whatever Amazon or Google or Oracle or Microsoft has. We can do it. And multi-cloud, what you're talking about, Sophie, maybe we can do it from multiple vendors. You understand? We can get something from Google. We can get something from Amazon. We can get something from Microsoft. And sometimes that may be better because we don't have to depend on one vendor. We got that. So storage, server. So all that chapter 1 that we talked about hardware, right, Jorge? I can either purchase that, or part of it I can rent out on demand as I go to these services. Read the next part, Jorge.
The next part is and
say?
software over the internet, allowing users to pay only for what they use instead of owning and managing physical infrastructure.
Right. What's the difference? Software, we know what software is, right? When we're doing Google Docs, that's software. And infrastructure, what is infrastructure? It's the actual physical hardware. So in this case, we can have a combination of those. Do you understand, Sophia? So sometimes at the university, you remember when we had the security folks come in? Sophia, do you remember that?
Yes.
Security, they said they had 5 people that managed all the security at the university, or 5 or 7. And what did I say? I said, that sounds ridiculous. There's thousands and thousands. There's the medical school, there's the sports, there's a law school, there's the business school. How could they do it? What they're really doing, they didn't tell us specifically, but they're doing what they call managed services. So they are outsourcing to other companies to take care of their security. And they have computers that connect to our computers and our network to be able to see if there are any security breaches and violations. Do you understand that, Sophia? So even the security software becomes cloud. So there's some software that they put, guess what? They, when I get computers from the university as being a faculty member, they put on certain software on my computer. And if I agree to get their hardware, I have to agree that they will basically have security on my computer. And have you ever entered, anytime you're on campus and go on the internet, Sophia, you are part of the university's network. They have software that they can tell what you're doing on your computer. Did you know that, Sophia? You agree, right? That they really can follow you on it. So everything, what, Marco, has a trade-off, right? So that's the problem also with what? That is a problem with their security, is I may be more vulnerable because a lot more people may be following me than I pertain to have. Is there another part, Jorge?
Yeah, it says it provides flexible resources and faster innovation by giving instant access to computing power from a cloud provider.
Right, flexible. Why is it flexible? Because Marco and I don't have to say, Marco says, you know what, Dr. Rush, our programmers say they don't have enough RAM, right? This is we got a big project, right? We're going to be working with a Fortune 500 company. They want us to do something. And what do I tell Marco? Let's use their services so we can be flexible. And next month, maybe we finish with that contract and we don't have anything, because we're doing it part-time. So why is that flexible? Then I can scale back because I'm doing what? On demand. It's like I'm renting out services. It's almost as if electricity, that if you're in your apartment, right, and you leave for 3 months or for 2 months, what can you do? You can turn up your thermostat, right, and not use as much electricity. And when you come back in August and it's humid as heck, right? What do you want to do is turn down your thermostat. What is it? It's basically on demand of what you're using your electricity. Does that make sense, Reagan? So we know you grew up with cloud services, right? Anything that you're using has cloud services. You're holding whatever's in RAM or what's on your hard is your local files, but most of your applications, your apps are in the cloud. And sometimes what you'll see here is that organizations somehow have sometimes computing that they will do what they call on-premise, and they will be managing it. But what's the problem of managing it? Then all of a sudden, Marco, I say, if we manage, guess what? We need to get a staff to help us. You remember when we were in the, Stephen, you remember when we were in the lab, I had the IT folks come in?
Yeah, I remember.
You remember? And you remember there were a couple of computers that didn't work properly? And what did they say? They said they tried to get some computers to work so we can get responders. And then what did they do? They told us, oh, we have to go to Central, that's Central IT, and get them to help the School of Business folks to fix those computers that they can have responders and work well. Is that staff that we need to have? So we have staff in the School of Business we have to hire. And a lot of times they're students, and you think the students a lot of times don't have the background. And do you think they stay a long time? No. There's a lot of overturn. And then do I need to hire then programmers that know how to do something and IT staff? So one of the things they like on cloud computing is in the staff, I expect Amazon and to Google or Oracle to have more qualified people. And also Marco and I don't have to start hiring IT people. We want to do our project, right, Marco? I don't want to start managing IT people. Now I have to hire somebody just to manage the other people. And managing. And then I'm in a different spot. So this is an advantage, but this is also a disadvantage because I don't know maybe what's happening on that other end. So there's ways in which to do it. So this is important. Anything else that was written there? Jorge?
No, that's it.
That's it. So does that make sense to you, Jorge, now when you say, I don't know?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
All right. That's what I want you to do is who cares, right? With all these kind of things of getting whatever I want you to understand, when do I make those decisions? So if I look and I share my screen, and I look at, in this case, I would go to my Wiley and reading, you understand? And when I look at my cloud computing and I look at it, it says, what are the basics of cloud computing? What are the different types of cloud computing? What are the computing services? What are the benefits? What are the concerns and risks with cloud computing? What are the 3 big cloud computing vendors and the assignments? So looking back at that, Stephen, when I do the basics of cloud computing and I look at the Wiley sources, they basically will tell me then we define cloud computing as a type that delivers convenient, why I can use it 24/7, on demand, just like Jorge say, pay as you go, meaning that I don't have to decide possibly to think about 5 years from now, access for my multiple customers to share a pool of configurable computing resources. What are those resources? Just like we talked about infrastructure, they're the servers, they're the networks that I have, my storage, all my applications, and all my services that I have, that where did they get their access is over the internet. And we know that in this case, they tell me then that this is the history of my cloud computing. And if I go back here, the different types of cloud computing that I have is it's stored on servers, on computers that other people have. And if I look at that, I can decide based on my own security concerns, Bobby, how much security do I want to have? If I am the Defense Department, right, and we have secret nuclear weapons information, Bobby, we want to have a private cloud. But usually you have, Bobby, I bet you have Gmail, right? You have a Gmail? I know you have a Gmail account, right?
Yeah.
And if I did anything on Amazon, this is what they call a public cloud. That means that I can gain, as individuals, we can gain access to what we know all the time is the public cloud. And sometimes when we're using apps, we don't even know which cloud they're using, which services. So if we're using Zoom, we don't know if Zoom is then hosting it, or they're using AWS, or they're using Google, or they're using Amazon. We have no idea, and usually, guess what? We don't care. But that idea of, and this put in your notes, when it says public cloud, it does not mean that everybody can see my information. It does not mean that. What it means is that my data is going to be shared on a computer with other people. It's almost like if you had that apartment with all the mailboxes, let's say down in the lobby, not everybody has a separate key. So this is when I use my Gmail, or I use what Sophia said, my Google Docs, right? I have a password there, but I'm sharing the computer services, versus a private cloud would be that it is going to be even more private, and I need extra security. So this is the idea of public clouds. They're shareable, right? That I can serve those public clouds. So the public cloud, a private cloud, again, they can be accessed only by a single entity or a group, and it's more secure. The National Security Agency, right? I have the private cloud, and then I have a hybrid cloud. And what does hybrid mean to you, Kylie? Hybrid, the word hybrid is a combination of both. We have a hybrid cloud now, Kylie, that what? Sometimes we meet in person on the exams, right? And most of the time we meet online. That's kind of a hybrid, right? So in this case, a hybrid was some things that I need super secure, I'll use private, and others I'll use it. So these are the ideas of those private clouds that I have. And multiple clouds would be that I'm using it in basically in multiple divisions, and also maybe even multiple clouds and multiple vendors where I'm able to get it. Okay? Does that make sense, Carissa? You got an idea on this? So it's the same thing that I have my cloud computing services that we know I have my cloud computing. It's different. I can have different services depending on what I want. So you remember that I talked about it, that you need to know this. There's one called infrastructure as a service, and the initials are IaaS. Everything is as a service, meaning that the host, the cloud provider, gives us a service. So what does infrastructure as a service means? That all my hardware, Marco and I are going into business together, and I say, Marco, listen, I don't have the time to purchase all those computers for all our programmers. Let's just do infrastructure as a service. What is good that if we go with AWS or Google or Microsoft, we can tell them how much RAM we have, how much we do, and I can do the infrastructure. Platform as a service, you can think about the operating systems. Remember, sometimes we need Windows, sometimes we need Linux, sometimes all of a sudden they're going to tell us I need Mac. Platform as a service, let the cloud provider provide that. And software as a service, you're using that all the time, right, Kylie? Anytime you use social media, you use Zoom, you're using software as a service. You're not having to do it, and the university doesn't have to update it each time. And you remember what was the problem in the lab is the university had to go to each computer and see if Respondus was there. You remember? And we had to bring all those guys in, and guess what? Isa and Daniel came the week before, right? And they went through every computer, and I said, you physically have to look at it. And they even reported like maybe 7 were done, but they were never done correctly. And everybody had to follow up. And guess what? We have more important things than starting to manage IT. You want to manage IT, Kylie? I don't want to manage IT. That's not my business. I'm in here to what? To teach, not to manage it. And Daniel knows that how many times he goes through it, I am anticipating that some computers would not work. So what did I ask you to do, Stephen? Is I asked what? Everybody bring their laptop, guess just in case what? Those computers that the School of Business manage doesn't work. Because guess what? We have to anticipate that could that be a possibility? Yes. I'm in the business, right? You're in the business of taking an exam. You don't want to be getting a 0 on the exam because the damn computer didn't work. Right? So you did what? We took those things. So you can think about it. We have then infrastructure and software. So all of these AIS, that's all it is. They make it complicated, but why is it important? You need to know when you're going into a business, what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? So you can see here how they have this, that on-premise software, if I see this right now, Jorge, what does on-premise software mean?
On-premise software is installed and it runs on a company's own hardware and servers.
Right. So that Respondus was on-premise software. When everybody can relate to that, right, Carissa? You were at the exam, right? And when you were at the exam, you knew you had to go into Respondus. You're expecting that on-premise software was there. So that on-premise software, it's the applications, it's the data. It was running Windows. You didn't have to worry. Windows had to be updated. The servers, virtualization means on the same physical hardware. What virtualization is I can create a way, and it looks like another computer within another one computer. Storage, networking. This is what they call on-premise. It has advantages that when we got in and we needed it, we could have it. The disadvantages is I needed to have a whole crew making sure that it was updated. Infrastructure as a service, all these as a service means what? If you're looking at that, Stephen, it means if I ask you what is as a service means, it means cloud computing. And this we even know, it's infrastructure. And here are examples of who provides that. IBM, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Rackspace. Oracle's basically went up because it's going to be providing a lot of services, right? Microsoft, the Azure is providing these platforms, so I can have platforms, operating service, and software. So these are the case of infrastructure as a service. It's providing my hardware. And then they go through what are its advantages and disadvantages, that idea that they can do backup and recovery. The cloud vendors can take care of that. Because if we have a hurricane, at least they took care of the backup. Scalability means what? That I can grow with it. Govern access. Cloud vendor enable all authorized users to access the data they need. You remember we talked about govern access, improved sustainability. Here are issues that they talk about. Platform is like software that I can basically have them do software as a service that you know it, and functions that I can have my programmers do. Security as a service. I told you university, right, Carissa? They didn't basically, there's a head of security, but they use security as a service. They use category cloud services to help design all the services. So what they have like a base, their base group here at the university is basically to contact end users, contact students, contact faculty, decide who gets what, decides on their roles, right? Based on their least control right there that they have. Security as a service. All this low code, no code, all the AI, it's done now through the clouds. So what you can look at is what we talked about before, is we have different vendors and you didn't realize it, but all these different vendors that you have, and that's why I want you to read through this, it's all these vendors like Amazon Web Services, and they were the first really to get into this cloud service, is they have a number of products and they can go from the very little to the very most. And many times you as an end user aren't even familiar. We don't know if Zoom is using AWS, what server they have. And notice Amazon wasn't down when they had that. It was just a server they had in Virginia. So you know that Amazon's own, in order to order anything, Amazon was up and running. But you can see here, the link I gave you is exactly the same idea of what Jorge was reading. Cloud computing is an on-demand delivery of IT resources. The internet with pay-as-you-go instead of buying, owning, maintaining physical data centers. The university, for instance, they used to do their email in data centers. We used to have people take care of their data center. Now for students, who takes care of their data center? Stephen, is Google, right? Google takes care of all yours. You want the university, they're in the business of running a university, not being IT specialists. They have to do some work, but they want to minimize it and transfer the risk to others that do this for a living. So you can see here, you can access technology services, computing power, databases, this is key, as needed. So you understand, Carissa, when you want more services, when we grow as a company, you will ask for more. When we shrink, we want. So who is using it? So you can see the benefits of it. Agility. What does agility mean? That I can move fast. That I don't have to say, oh, basically, I don't even know in the future what I'm going to need. Marco and I go into business, right, Marco? I don't know what computing power we're going to need because I don't know. Maybe in a year we're going to need it, but I really don't know how well we'll succeed. So the idea of agility, hey, we can quickly spin up the resources we need. All of a sudden we get a new contract, Marco. Now we can do it. And we can say, hey, basically, we can have it help us with machine learning. We can have it with analytics. Those of you that are doing analytics can do it. You can deploy it in minutes rather than we got to start from scratch. And you know what? We're going to have to add software to our computers that we buy. Elasticity means what? If I think about elasticity, Ava, is what? What does elasticity mean? What is elastic? Have you ever had those elastic pants that when you get fatter or skinner, it moves, right?
Mhm.
So what does elasticity
Yeah.
mean?
Like being able to change or like move around or
But basically handling the peak,
kind of,
right? That all of a sudden, maybe we're selling products that really do well in Christmas, right? So we're going to need more activity and more people are coming to our site during Christmas time. And then in January, it's less. We're maybe traveling in this case, we're going to take vacation. So that's elasticity when we don't have to handling peak business ways. Cost saving. Why is it cost saving? Because I'm renting, I'm taking parts of it. I don't have to buy a physical service. I'm doing variable expenses. So what does variable expenses mean? It means how much I use. It's just like electricity, right? Filippo, when I'm doing electricity, right? It's going to be, in this case, going to be elastic. I'm going to pay as much as I use, right? In the summer here, I use a lot more electricity than I do in winter. I don't have to worry about heating, right? We don't have to worry about heating our houses. But it may be, if I'm up north, maybe in those winters, that's when I have to worry about it. In the summers up north, I may not even use air conditioning. So it's that same thing that I can deploy in the types. Look at this, Jack. The types of computing: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. And then they're basically going to give me examples. If I then look at, guess what, Sophia? This is Microsoft. You know Microsoft, you've heard of them, right? Their stock has done, all these companies, by the way, their stock prices have done incredible this way because AI is involved with it, but their cloud computing is called Azure. Azure, people are talking about it. But look, what is cloud computing? The same idea. The definition, delivering of computer services. And our lab, do you understand that, Sophia? Our lab gives us the idea of what's on premise, of actually having those computers in the lab, and the beauty that we could go to those computers in the lab, right? But there was a disadvantage that I had to have a whole slew of people, and notice that I don't have control of. They had to do it. So what is this? Everything that we studied before: my servers, my storage, my databases, my analytics, my AI over the internet, and economies of scale. You pay only for cloud services you use. You help lowering your operating costs, and you run your infrastructure, right? Is my hardware, my software, my people more efficiently. And notice here, same idea, right? Is there any difference? They all are competing. And guess what, Sophia? They all look at each other. And they all copy each other, right? And they all basically probably take employees from each other. But they're giving the same service because people want that service. And guess what? It's the idea again. Now, if you look at that AAS infrastructure, right, Sophia, as a service, platform as a server, some are even like serverless, software as a service in the top. It's going to do the cost, my speed, my productivity, my performance, my reliability, and my security. And those models, guess what? My public cloud, my private cloud, my hybrid cloud, why do I need them? And the types, and when do I need to use them? Right? And this is from Azure. And if I looked at any of the other ones, right, and I can do any of the other ones, that even if I said here on what is cloud computing, right, of the signing. And guess what? This is, if I look at it, what is cloud computing? On this case, IBM has it as well. Have you heard of IBM, Sophia? Yeah, right? What is cloud computing? Same idea. They're all trying to compete, right? They're all trying to compete on Microsoft. What is the cloud? And you see these right here, Sophia, this picture here. We're not going to store something like that, right? In the School of Business. But these are all of these slots here are all different computers. And where your data is stored and where my data is stored, I have no idea. But what is public here is maybe a number of them are stored right here in this computer, and you see that they all have to be cooled. And guess what? What do you see about AI now with all those data centers? They're even bigger than this and need more even cooling, because what? They're even going to be computing a lot more. So what's the whole idea of have you heard of that, Sophia? All these AI data centers, they're going into, I don't know, into large places in where there's a lot of land in Texas, other places, right? It's basically the similar idea, but they even need more cooling, and they even need a larger computing capability, but the same idea. So we need infrastructure. I'm not going to build all that. And even if I have those servers, they'll all have servers. A lot of companies have a room with these servers. So they may have some on premise, but they have a lot of it. They may have a combination. And notice here, what is the cloud? Benefits, the use cases, the future trends. So if you look at any of the future trends, when you think about any of the future trends, it's what, Sophia? AI integration, edge computing that we'll discuss on Wednesday, which is a way in which we want it quicker, we want it faster, we want it more efficient. So we may want to have that computing be what they call on the edge, that it'll be closer to where we are. And quantum computing, and then they talk about what are its applications. So what do you think, Sophia? Did that make sense to you? Do you have a better understanding of that?
Yes, I didn't know that they stored data in actual like physical places.
Where did you think it was going to be stored?
I don't know.
When you think of the cloud, you think, oh, it's in heaven somewhere, right? But the whole idea, it's all physical. The only difference is it's somewhere else. And you get access through it. How? Through your browser, through your browser. And what do you need, Sophia? Is you need to have internet access to get it. And when your internet access is down, we get, it's not coming here, but those poor folks in Jamaica, did you see that? If they even, let alone not their internet access, let alone their electricity, but think about it, even if their houses will exist. There ain't going to be even any cell service, right? Those towers. But it's all done. But it's great that you say that, because we're oblivious to it, right? We just think it just happens. So that's why it's good to think about it. Those physical data centers, what do they want to do with Azure or which is Microsoft or an Amazon or a Google, I don't care what company, is they want to be able to put their service, guess what, in one location, do you think? If you were going to be the director in Amazon, they hired you because you were just so inquisitive and you can manage people well, Sophia, would you tell them just put it in San Francisco?
Well, I think it's more convenient, but it's also more dangerous now because then
Well, you want to do what? You want to distribute it.
Yeah.
So we don't want just San Francisco. We would want Texas. Do we want it? Maybe we want it in Miami so we can be close to it. But I wouldn't want to put all my eggs in Miami because guess what? We're just lucky that the hurricane went to the east, right? Usually it hits Florida. This is an exception. Every one, poor people in Jamaica or Haiti or Dominican Republic, they're going to get it. So what do? Do you think they only have it in the United States? No, they have it throughout the world. And you as a company, depending on your company, you can even state where you want your data to be stored. So a lot of times people say, I don't want my data to be stored in China. Right? But if you're in Asia, I want it to be closer here. Notice where it was. That last outage at Amazon was in Virginia. So it may have been, and why do they have it in Virginia? Because what? A lot of the Pentagon is there, the White House is there, right in that area. Those of you familiar with the area, right? I want my data to be close to me because it's going to be close. It's going to be faster. Remember we talked about that, basically that idea that I want my data I need to know maybe where my data is. And if I hop on from one network to the other, guess what? It will be what? Slower. So there's something called high frequency trading. You ever heard of that, Stephen? High frequency trading. That means that blink your eyes. Everybody blink their eyes once. High frequency trading, you can have thousands of trades in that one blink of an eye. So if I were doing automated trading strategies using AI, and in this case, who's a finance major? Raise your hand. Okay, so who else besides Marco? Who else is a finance major? Okay, so Anthony, on that case, if we were finance majors and we said, let's follow the expert, and you can follow my trades, we're going to do high frequency trades and come on to Zoom, and we'll charge you can be a subscription basis, you'll be platinum, and you can follow the guru who knows how to trade there with the algorithm, with the AI algorithm. And guess what? All you other guys, you can charge less price, and we'll also do what? We'll stream to YouTube, and you can follow me. What's the problem with those people that are watching us on YouTube, Anthony?
They can't interact with you if they have a question.
Well, but what is the major thing if they're following my trade? Who can tell me if they're following my trade? Everybody understand? We get this great AI algorithm with high frequency trading. We've gone ahead and discovered we get great results with it. And we're going to have some people that are with me that can talk, but then we can have other people, Anthony, moderate the sessions in YouTube, right? What's the problem of high frequency trading following us in the live stream in YouTube? Who can tell me?
There's a delay.
Yeah. And how long is that delay? Maybe 30 seconds, 20 seconds?
It's about
And
30.
what's the
Yeah.
problem? Whatever it is, it's in high frequency trading, it's going to be too slow for us. So we need to know then where our servers are. The closer our servers are, then it's going to be faster. And guess what? If we're going to be implementing that trade, and I'm going to be implementing trade sitting in Florida, and that my servers in Miami, it's going to even be there's going to be too much of a time lag, even if it's 10 seconds. And guess what they do, Austin? Many people that are doing that high frequency trading, and they're trading the NASDAQ, they put their servers, they require their servers to be located where? Right next to NASDAQ in New York City. That's how important it is to get those, basically those seconds, my blink of an eye means something. Because they get in and out of a trade so quickly. But guess what? For our lectures, does it matter that it's 30 seconds delayed? No. So you need to think about what is the application. Marco, so if we're into doing high frequency trading and algorithms, then it's going to be important. If we're going to do other things, that we're going to automate some tasks for payroll, and they're going to be paid once a month, it's not going to be that important. So we always have to make sure what is our application and how quick we want that. And that's one of the things with these AI and the chatbot. You don't want to wait around. It's even we're not used to it, waiting 30 seconds to hear from a chatbot conversing. We want it quickly. So those are the types of things that we want then. A lot of computing power, and we want our not only CPUs, but what's in our AI, it's going to be those GPUs. Remember, we talked about it, and those NPUs, the neural processing networks. So you understand that, Sophia? It's great that you say that, because it's all based on hardware somewhere it's being computed. It's just not on our premise. And the expansion is tremendous. And how do they make money? For Amazon, you know what? Their most profitable subsidiary is not selling us stuff, Sophia, which I buy a lot of stuff. I got a lot of those Amazon boxes that come in. It's so convenient for me, right? They're making money, right? But where are they most profitable is on these web services for other companies doing that. That's where, because what? They can go scale. Me and you are just minuscule there in their computing power. So what is it? Just like those of you that study economics, right? It's the economies of scale, those variable costs, that whatever they charge me is a drop in the bucket for me, and it makes them plenty of cash and revenues. So this is why this idea of cloud computing is so essential for us. And now what they're doing is they're trying to speed that up. So one of the things I've invited is a PhD electrical engineer that is focusing in on edge computing. So Daniel, she's supposed to be coming in, right?
Wednesday.
On Wednesday. Hassan. And what's amazing here is I want her to explain it to us in English. You understand that, Sophia?
Yeah.
Not as a PhD in electrical engineering, but basically the idea, what are they doing now in terms of cloud computing and what are the future trends? That's what I think it's exciting for us to see how we should prepare for this. So I've invited her to come. So Monday, we have Wednesday, you need to do your first draft. So you guys got to get together and put your URL on there and reach out to Isa if you have questions for that part. And then we'll do, remember we talked about the ID callers? Remember that, Zach? Where we talked about intelligent callers? We'll set up our own phone numbers, right? Neat. And then we can program it, right? We don't even have to be coders and say, hey, somebody, we can do conversational basic bots where we can use the phone numbers and then we'll attach it to our products and everything like that, that will explore what's available. I think that's exciting. That you guys can have then skills, hey, I can go on to it, and then have the curiosity that will be there. Because I think that's the key here, is curiosity and wanting to learn. Some of you wrote to me, all the jobs will be gone, I won't have a job, blah, blah, blah. I think there'll be plenty of jobs. Part of this job is even managing all these services. What's going on? Is it correct? It isn't going away. The world isn't going to be just taken away, but somebody needs to manage it. It's just like when you think about it, now they're doing more. Tesla now is not going to even be a car manufacturer. They're going into robotics. Did you see that? All the AI being the autonomous vehicles. And people were saying, when are they going to be able to take my kids to soccer practice or whatever? Some of the things that just can be not even supervised, that's coming. But you still need somebody to supervise, somebody to kind of create and say, hey, what's the next step? Where are we going? What is lacking here? Where are we missing out? Okay, so stay with me afterwards. We need to take attendance. Daniel, you want to do that for me? Be so kind.
Sure.
I appreciate it. And Sophia, that was a great idea. Hey, I didn't know it was hardware. It's beautiful. You understand how that opened your mind? Yeah, that's what it looks like. And all those AI data centers, that's what it is too. It's going to be all that hardware that's still doing, and all that computing power. It's just that we don't have
And
it.
power.
And
a lot of power.
Yeah, certainly. That's going to be the problem. And all that cooling and all that problem. That's the problem with all the electricity. Where they're going to get that? What types?
They're talking about putting servers in space.
I know there's so many different ways, and all that cooling too, because it's going to get so hot. Yeah, they're going to figure out ways, you think about sustainability and things, and it's saving costs, but what is it doing to the environment? There's other things, and that's where people are having to come in and find different ways to do that. Okay, so we got the number here. Everybody knows the drill. Stay with me if you have questions. Otherwise, those that were participating, thank you very much. Especially Sophia for your words of wisdom. Oh, they're using hardware. Love it.
Hello.
Hi.
I have a question because I was here last class and I didn't put the correct code in and it timed out. I was wondering if I could.
And who is this, Hayden?
Yes.
Okay,
At
hold
least
on a second. Let me just finish with Lily.
Okay.
Lily, what's up?
Sorry, I was just putting in the code.
Did it work?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Have a good one. Thank you. Okay, Hayden, why don't you show your face during class?
Why? Because I have to log in on my phone because sometimes it doesn't work on my computer and because of my internet and stuff like that. So my phone's mainly down. Yeah.
What do you mean your phone's down or your computer's down?
like my computer doesn't work, so I just log in on my
Why
phone.
doesn't your computer work?
I don't know. I've like tried to talk to Lakeside and the
Yeah,
RAs and
so
all
you
of
need to
that.
do that because one of the
Yeah.
things that we're doing now, Hayden, is everybody needs to participate in the class. And one of the ways that to participate, the only thing I end up seeing with you is I end up seeing your blue lights. Do you understand? And I don't see your face. So
Yes,
what I'm
ma'am.
requiring you to do is every time you got to figure out. So today is Monday. You got to figure out with Lakeside, wherever you are. You in your room or where are you?
I'm in my room.
Right. You have a computer that you have a laptop or a desktop or what?
A laptop.
Okay. So if you can't do it there, you got to find somewhere else on campus where
Okay.
you can sit even outside or in another room where everybody can see your face and when you can participate in the class. Because every time I have it is at the end, all I see are your blue lights from it's nice. I like it. I like the glow, right? I like the theme, right? Maybe we could have a dance party there or something, but I need to see your face. So
Yes,
you need
ma'am.
if you can't find it, if your computer for some reason you can't get internet access in your room, there's plenty of places on campus. You got to find out, you got to sit. So tomorrow what I suggest you do is find another place or figure out call IT or something to
Yes,
get you
ma'am.
up and running because you will not get attendance by just seeing your blue lights.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did you do on the first exam, Hayden?
I did okay. I got a 70.
What was your score?
A 70, I think.
Okay. So you can do better.
Yes, ma'am. Most
You
definitely.
know what I mean? So what one of the ideas is that you need to figure out why you didn't even get better than that. You know what I mean? Was it that you didn't study or you didn't do the notebook LM or something like that? Reach out to ISA or something, figure out what's going on. What's the status of your group?
My group, we're gonna start. We did the proposal and everything, but we're gonna start working on like the
When
part
is it
one
due?
Wednesday.
Yeah, so when are you guys meeting?
Probably tomorrow. We have like a group chat and everything.
Probably, or do you have a time?
We were setting it up because we have like a group chat that we're communicating that's
Yeah,
like the best
okay,
suitable
so that's
time for
not a lot
everybody.
of time,
Yep.
right? That's
Yep.
really, this was done last week, so this is not good,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
I'm just telling you now, right? We don't even have a time to meet. So you're gonna be graded all along, and the only problem, hey, this project gonna count more than an exam.
Ma'am.
So that's all I can let you know. You know, I want you to do well in the class.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
Yes, ma'am.
so we got two things. One is you got to figure out a place where you can sit. You got a laptop so you can bring it anywhere on campus. They got good internet. And find a quiet place where you can sit and do it. And number two is you got to I would tell your group, you got to do it even tonight.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
tomorrow it's due Wednesday before class, and each group is going to be called on to show their work. And it's not going to be looking good that we don't have anything to show.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Alrighty.
We got it. We got a plan. Hayden.
Yep.
Ciao.
So, are we gonna rectify the?
Well, you got to rectify it.
Do I?
You rectify
And,
by you got to show your face in the class.
yeah, and also for September, like I was dealing with a shoulder injury in my
I remember that.
yeah,
Right.
like I couldn't get on those, and I was marked absent for
Yeah,
like the two.
that's another issue with you. How is your shoulder?
It's a
Better?
lot better. Yeah, I'm out of the
Okay.
swing and everything. So like
Okay.
for those, like could
Yeah,
those?
but you had an excuse. But why couldn't you get online? I know you
I was
said
in.
somebody was sending it. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I was dealing with my
so
shoulder
go
injury, and I
ahead
was,
and send it to Isa and to Daniel, your note. I got a note from those guys, I think from your
okay.
team, from
All
your
right.
team. So they'll give you credit for those days that they'll give you, an excused absence. But for the rest
Okay.
of the time, I need to see your face.
Yes, ma'am.
Lovely
Most
face.
definitely.
Okay?
Alrighty.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Let me stop recording. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Please remind me.
If you could also stop the co-pilot.
Yeah, I need to